Black Myth Wukong is coming out in the near future. This is a game that's on my radar. You've seen all the controversy with Sweetbaby Inc. essentially trying to extort this game. Not too long ago, we talked about how they had a whole bunch of like DEI activists trying to do damage pieces on this game because of alleged sexist claims that they tried to say were misogynist. It was an IGN article that was basically debunked at this point, but there's still a whole bunch of wokies out there just determined to make Black Myth Wukong a utter fail because it didn't go the DEI route. Yeah, reportedly they turned down an extortion attempt where Sweetbaby Inc. was like, pay us $7 million to make your game acceptable. And they told them to fuck off, essentially. So the smear is still there, guys. That's how these people play. If you don't play with the rules, they smear you. And to this date, we still have journos, or should I say political activists, still attempting to smear this game. This article was on The Guardian, and this is from a gentleman called Tom Regan, who wrote, I recently played the beautiful and satisfying Black Myth Wukong, a game with the potential to be one of the year's best. Yet instead of leaving its demo elated, after a bizarre interview, I walked away disappointed with the people who made it. So, obviously rage baiting, obviously playing into this narrative against the video game because they didn't go woke. Also, look how fine and dandy. Only accounts that they follow or mentioned could reply. So that should tell you enough right here that this individual, Tom Regan, is full of crap. So looking at his article, you can actually see he previewed the game and he actually liked it. He actually gave a lot of compliments to the game, believe it or not, saying some good things about it. And in my opinion, this is one of those games that's definitely on the radar. I think it looks like it's going to be a fantastic game. And funny enough, it's coming out literally the same time that Star Wars Outlaws coming out, a game that is infected with, DEI, that all these wokies are praising. We have the checklist of DEI points is basically filled in on that one. And every Wookiee out there is running damage control for that while they're smearing Black Myth Wukong. Now, Grums posted a banger tweet summarizing this article that we're about to get into. We're going to look at all of it. The Guardian in the past has been guilty of doing the same bull crap. We've seen them attack all sorts of things that were considered right-wing grifts and stuff. It's a tale as old as time. But he says game journalist Grape Doss Mill, who's Tom's Twitter account for Guardian, repeats the hoax IGN article slamming Black Myth Wukong for refusing to answer their questions on their baseless attacks. So yeah, it's making reference of that ridiculous IGN article that we covered quite some time ago. This is like falsely accusing someone of beating their wife and then demanding at every interview that they answer questions about beating their wife. So it's been debunked. And at this point, the makers of Black Myth Wukong are just like, look, we're not answering this bull crap. We're not answering these baseless allegations. Let's show off our game that we're excited for, because this is like their first game that they're producing right here. Apparently, gamers in Chinese proved the game science statements were mistranslated and misinterpreted, and still IGN, The Guardian, and others persist. All these articles repeat the same proven unreliable IGN hit piece article. Reporter Tom Regan would rather talk about these false allegations from a single botched translation of an IGN source rather than gameplay. All the Wukong devs wanted was to talk about their game in this interview, about the game. Wukong is set to release next month, next to Ubisoft Star Wars Outlaws. Any bets which game gamers would like better? And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think Black Myth Wukong is probably gonna sell better than Star Wars Outlaws, which is fucking wild considering it's Star Wars. I mean, I'm literally wearing a Star Wars shirt right here. Expressions of a Wookiee. Black Myth Wukong looks like everything that a high action, combat ready video game should be, and it looks pretty cool. It looks like there's a lot of potential with it. What's funny about all this whole situation is they're making reference to this IGN article. Guess what? The author of that article never retracted any of the statements, never clarified, never redacted anything, even though it was proven that there was a mistranslation here. I covered this on a video quite a bit ago, but that shows you how these people work, how they have to push a narrative, and they won't admit when they're wrong, even if it makes them look like they're a bunch of liars, because to them, if you're against them, you're just a grifter. You're part of this, you know, right wing, right leaning, MAGA, straight white boy loving part of the gaming community that they absolutely hate. That's the issue. And if you don't comply, they'll find every reason to attack you, which is what they've been doing with Black Myth Wukong. They won't come out and say it, but there's every sign there. We've seen Sweetbaby Inc. in the past literally at GDC say, hey, if a gaming developer doesn't, listen to anything that you want in this game, go scare their marketing team and scare them to comply. These people literally want their agenda pushed, and it's ridiculous. So looking at Tom and his article, again, like I said, he compliments this game. He literally says that it's fun. He says that it's great. After playing it for an hour and a half, he can confirm that somewhat miraculously, the stunning Chinese mythological twist on Dark Souls delivers on that showy trailer, marrying fluid feeling combat with reflex testing difficulty and the expensive filmic sheen of something like God of War. So they're praising this game. Everything. But you know what? You can't be too kind. All of this just glazing it. But here's where the killer is. And this is the paragraph at the end. How convenient, right? And this is where the mask comes off from Tom. He says, I am unfortunately met with very little honest communication when I bring up a report from IGN. And again, just to show you guys again, the report from IGN, it was this whole thing about a history of sexism at the workplace and how it's like a toxic environment, and just overall a big hit piece written by Rebecca Valentine, who, funny enough, has everybody that's ever criticized her blocked. She's about Mercante level, just about. But continuing on, they said that the related alleged sexist comments from multiple developers at Game Science, as well as those in leadership roles. I present Ted with the opportunity to address the claims of misogynistic posts and whether he feels that they represent Game Science's values. So keep in mind, this is at a thing for the press to demo the game, and they just can't act right. They take that as an opportunity to push some kind of narrative, to get a story, to write a baseless article once again, based on baseless accusations, because that's what these people do. This is all part of that extortion. So they said, instead, I'm shut down with a hasty no comment from their UK PR representative, and then after a long wait, given a longer statement of no comment via Ted's translator. I am then told that Game Science's US PR agency will follow up later with a prepared statement, only to be sent the following. Game Science is focused on the demo at this time and will only answer questions related to gameplay. So good on them. Don't let these wokies walk all over you. Push them to the side. Tell them to screw you. Don't listen to their nonsense, guys. Because if you give them a little bit, even if you acknowledge their presence, they're going to just attack. They'll smell blood. They're worse than sharks. Continuing on, he says the same thing happened to an IGN reporter at a demo in LA last month. It's disappointing that Game Science is opting to invite journalists to speak to them and play the game, but refusing to answer their questions. Perhaps there's no reassurance to offer. A generous reading of the situation would be that this inexperienced studio is petrified of saying the wrong thing, yet in failing to say anything at all, Game Science is also failing to distance itself and its game from the multiple crude, disparaging, and misogynistic comments attributed to its employees and leadership. Gag me with a fucking spoon. Literally none of that has to do, even if it was true, with the gameplay mechanics, with actually going and respecting nobody has to answer a question. They could always say no comment. And it's because it's against the echo chamber of wokies that they're making it into a story. Isn't it funny? Because just yesterday I exposed that the Assassin's Creed subreddit is literally banning people for debating whether Yasuke is a samurai or not. But when it's leaning towards the right, it becomes a problem. It becomes an issue. It becomes dishonesty. And the only thing that I can see dishonest is journalists still trying to write hit pieces on what's going to be a great fucking game. You have people at these events showing their demos that want to showcase their first game, that are excited about actually talking about the game. They want to talk the video game. They don't want to talk your politics. They want to talk about your lies and your narratives and your agendas, which is funny because it sounds like they're doing their job, which is something that the journalists don't do. The gaming journalists do everything but talk about video games. Instead of actually writing an article about an upcoming video game that is going to be awesome within the next month, they're more focused on pushing an agenda that they're misogynistic and that they're toxic and they're sexist, and they want to do political activism and push out this woke narrative against a developer. Kind of weird how that works, that these people still refuse to do their jobs. Instead of actually previewing a game properly and writing about it and talking about the gameplay mechanics, they would rather just push some kind of narrative against the developer. Unfucking real. Unreal. So what do you guys think about this nonsense that these journalists are doing against this game? Let me know your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you haven't. We're closing in on 90,000 subscribers. I would appreciate it if you guys helped join the Nuggy Nation. I'll see you on the next one.